So I've taken off the point cover to discover that we have a Pazon ignition system. Now, I'm not that familiar with Pazon. All I know is that it's made in New Zealand. Of course, the famous Tri-Spark, that's made in Australia. So these sort of Antipodeans, they're big on their electronic ignition systems. It all looks very neat. It all looks very tidy. It all looks very new. So I can't see any reason why it shouldn't be working properly. I will we'll turn it over a minute with the plugs out and see if we get a spark. I'm sure we will. This system, I think it's called a surefire system or something. I'm not sure, but it's about a reasonably priced as well. I think they're about 100 odd pounds, you know. But then you've got postage and tax or whatever on top. That's British pounds. So yeah, it looks like a decent system. This system has got a separate box on it, which I'll try and show you now. I'll just turn this off and I'll put the light on the camera, and so you can see it. Okay, this is going to be a fairly naff video, but just so I can try and show you that the electronic box for the ignition is tucked up there, tucked up away in between the ignition coils. Okay, so that's all the sort of the brains of the system up there. It's all very neat. And then the actual unit is down here. So we'll turn the engine over now and see if we get a spark. Oh, and one other thing about the Pazon system is it's what's called wasted spark. So what that means is that both plugs fire at the same time, even when they're not needed. So when the right-hand cylinder, say, is on compression and it fires, the left-hand plug will fire as well, even though that won't have any effect because that cylinder is not on compression. So I think there are advantages and disadvantages to this. I'm not really up on it, so you need to ask other people about it. Tri-Spark, they have individual spark plugs firing. Boyer, they also have wasted spark. I think the advantage of wasted spark is that if one cylinder starts running badly, you're pretty sure it's not the electronic ignition that's at fault, because they're both firing. And if one cylinder's running okay, then the other one should run okay as well. Disadvantages, I suppose people will say, well, what's the point in having them both firing at the same time? And I suppose, I don't know other advantages of having single firing spark plug, apart from obviously not wearing out the spark plugs, which is not really here nor there really. But I don't really know the advantages or disadvantages. But anyway, this, like Boyer, is what's called a wasted spark system. So all the plugs fire at the same time. Right, just a minor thing, which could actually then become a major thing. I'm just about to put the two HT leads back on. I've just cleaned them. And if you can see, this one has got quite large sort of grooves worn in it, considering the bike's only done 900 miles. They're fairly, they're pretty deep wear marks. And where they're from the braided stainless steel rocker feed. So normally they would go, that would go in there, and then this has been sitting behind these two hoses, and those two hoses are then worn. How fast that's worn. So when we put this back on, I need to run it in some way. The obvious place is to put it where it was, behind these two hoses, but obviously that's not a great idea. So I need to make sure it's running where it's not rubbing on these hoses. So it might not look perfect, but we certainly don't want it to be rubbing like that. Okay, here we go. I don't know. think that's showing up okay on the camera, hopefully. So we definitely have some sparks. And I've checked the other side, and that's sparking as well. So, whoops, get the finger out of the way. So yeah, I know we certainly have sparks, so I'm assuming that everything's okay. What we will do later on, when we've got the engine running, then we'll check the ignition timing. I'm sure it's spot on, but we'll check it anyway using a strobe. So yeah, we have ignition. So just about time to get the engine running. All we need is to put the carbs back together again. And we'll be starting the bike up. Woohoo!